This is TWiT.
Let's get some liquor.
This past weekend was the celebration of my 30th wedding anniversary.
Oh, happy anniversary to you both.
Thank you.
That's great.
We had a really great time. A bunch of friends came up, and one of the whiskeys that was brought was Signal Hill, which is a Canadian whiskey. And it is named after his signal hero, which is a historical landmark in St. John's, Newfoundland, and has been a landmark for a long time. It was arguably the site of the last battle in North America for the 7 Years' War from 1756 to 1763. This was a war primarily pitting Britain and Prussia against France and Austria, plus Spain and Saxony and Sweden and a few others. And is the umbrella term for a bunch of other wars that were going on both in Europe and North America, like the French-Indian War and the Spanish-Portuguese War and the Anglo-Spanish War. But the conflict that happened around Signal Hill was when the French had grabbed that land from the British, who were blockading the St. Lawrence Seaway, which is where what was then known as Lower Canada, today we call Quebec, was cutting off their ability to bring supplies to France. The British succeeded and held the blockade and forced the French to surrender. And that site continued to be a defensive site for another millennia, all the way into World War II, actually. But arguably the most famous thing to happen on Signal Hill, and the real reason it's called Signal Hill more than anything, is that is where Marconi set up his first wireless transatlantic message system in 1901.
I wonder, is that the same station that would receive the signals from the Titanic 7 years later, or
quite possibly? Yeah. Well, or 14 years later.
So cool.
Yeah. So that's where the name comes from. So where'd the whiskey come from? And the answer is Dan Aykroyd, the Blues Brothers, right? And the Ghostbuster.
He has a vodka too. I have his.
He does. That's where this all starts.
Yeah.
And then in 2008, he started Crystal Head Vodka, which with a guy named John Alexander, who made the skull bottle. That's what it was famous for, is this whiskey. It's vodka in a skull bottle. But he also was big on no additives, because most vodkas have some sweeteners or flavoring or coloring or glycerin or any number of things. It's like, nope, nothing in it whatsoever. This whole celebrity alcohol thing is interesting because Dan Aykroyd got to it very early on, 2008. The only one I can find earlier than that, the one that makes me sad, is Sean Combs, because he cut a deal with Diageo for Ciroc vodka back in 2007. Oddly enough, that deal's ended now, wrapped up somewhat acrimoniously. But
did they call it Diddy's Roofie vodka or like
something along those lines? Yeah, I know they did say no additives. And some of the research I did around this whole celebrity vodka thing, it made this great statement. It said in 2018 there was about 40 different celebrity alcohols. Today there's over 400.
Jeez.
So the reality is, of course, it's a moneymaker. These celebrities, and there's a bunch of different ways to go about it. Like Aykroyd clearly is deeply involved in making the product. Really markets it heavily.
I had an autographed Crystal Head. I think I gave it away when we shut the studio. I feel.
Yeah. But many celebrities are pretty hands off. The liquor companies have figured out, hey, if I get a celebrity involved, it can give me a boost of sales. And so, they'll just try and recruit a celebrity into stuff. So it depends on the level of involvement. And only a few weeks ago when we were in Mexico, we talked about Fletcher Azul, which is Mark Wahlberg's involvement, which I think was fairly hands off. So Aykroyd added whiskey to his repertoire in 2017 and wanted to kind of do his own signature on it. And so it's quite a light whiskey, actually. It's straight corn and barley malt. So 95% corn, 5% malt. There's no rye in it whatsoever, regardless of what you may have heard about Canadian whiskey. They don't have to have rye in them. They're not all ryes. Nothing special about the distillery. It's made at the Hiram Walker Distillery, which is literally the largest distillery in Canada. They make almost 40 million liters of alcohol a year. Their original product that Hiram Walker started with, when we talked about this, when we were talking about Canadian whiskey, was Canadian Club. Although Pernod Ricard owns the Hiram Walker Distillery, Canadian Club, the brand, is owned by Suntory, but still produced at the Hiram Walker Distillery. So part of the business of Hiram Walker is making custom bottles of anything. And so Aykroyd's folks, the Crystal Skull folks, went to them and basically making that. He actually hired a guy named Michael Booth, who was a master distiller at Hiram Walker, who'd recently retired, who went back to make this whiskey for him. One of the most interesting parts about this whiskey in my mind is, well, it's of course aged in ex-bourbon casks. It's also split into ex-Canadian whiskey casks, probably Canadian club casks, if I had to guess, plus some new oak. So they split across the three, and then they blend them back together. 3 to 5 years old. There's no age statement on the bottle. They do not use chill filtration, which is unusual for a 40% alcohol, but they say that their particular approach to making it means that it tends not to flocculate in ice anyway. Drinking this stuff, we did polish the bottle off. It is a very sweet. To be that much corn means very, very sweet and no spices to it at all. It's a good mixer vodka, and at $40 a bottle, why not? You know, you can do anything you want with it. It is available in the US and a few other countries. So of course, it's a Canadian whiskey. But yeah, if you just want a pretty harmless, you know, nothing fancy going on here, this is a nice one. And it's got a cool looking bottle, and it's got a lot of color for a very young whiskey, but that's because I think of the barrels that it's aged in. Oh, and they're very big on the fact that it's actually bottled in Newfoundland and cut with Newfoundland water, which is said to be the best drinking water in the world.
By Newfoundlanders?
Yeah, it's certainly the
Undoubtedly.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Just a random weird, you know, they bring me this whiskey, I poke around it for a bit, I find out, you know, Dan Aykroyd's involved, and it only gets stranger from there. But yeah,
that's cool.
It's not
really
the most
cool.
offensive celebrity mass-produced whiskey I've run across.
Yeah, I often wonder, like, those guys probably just said, here's my name, give me some money, and that's it, right?
And lots have done that.
Yeah.
Aykroyd, not so much. The interviews he's given, his involvement, it seems more interested in what he's making there.
Yeah.
But he's also early in and still in. You know, you look at what Ryan Reynolds has pulled off with Aviation Gin, where he invested early, was only in for 4 years, and then they sold it off for $600 million.
Unbelievable.
Like, I don't know how much of that he pocketed, but I suspect it's got, you know,
significant amount.
8 or 9 digits in it. So he did very well for that. And he did not get involved in production whatsoever. He just made the best gin ads in the world.
Just as a point of note, I think my son is going to issue the first celebrity mayonnaise. So you might want to pay attention to this whole new category of celebrity condiments.
I love it, and I need this.
Yes.
Is there a mayonnaise of the month club that I could perhaps join?
I don't know. He's got a relationship with Hellman's. With Hellman's.
That's beautiful. That's really
they're going to, I think, be the official mayonnaise of his sandwich shop that he's opening in New York. So,
all right.
I really think Salt Hank mayonnaise has a certain ring to it. But you notice Dan Aykroyd doesn't put his name on Crystal Header Signal.
No, he doesn't.
It's just, kind of known that he is involved with it. Yeah.
And again, he was in early, and he's still in, where many of these other celebrities have come and gone quickly.
Like I said, celebrity condiments. My son's going to be the first. 20 years from now, you'll be thinking back. You heard it here first.
I remember when. Leo told me some days all my condiments be endorsed by celebrities.
Dan Aykroyd's mustard sauce. It's going to be great.